Okay. The second formula that we're going to deal with that has two coordinates is the midpoint formula. Now, the midpoint formula is going to help us find the point that is equidistant between two given points. So instead of trying to find the full distance of the segment from point A to point B, we want to find the point that is directly between them. Now keep in mind at a point, the midpoint is actually an xy coordinate, so you need to be sure that you write it as an xy coordinate. That's a very important thing to understand. And simply the midpoint formula is just an average of the x's and the y's. So basically in finding the average, you can see we're going to take the two x's, add them together, divide by 2. That's going to give us the x part of the coordinate. And we're going to take the two y's, add them together, divide by 2, and that's going to give us the y part of the coordinate. It's very important that if you do these separately, that you make sure you write them together as one point. Okay. Now we've got a couple simple example here. Example number 2 shows us how to use the midpoint formula. We're given a point -7 and 1, and -2, 5, and we want to find the midpoint on the segment that would join those 2 points. So those would be considered endpoints. And so if you remember from your geometry class, you know, those are going to be your endpoints, and so we want to find the midpoint between them. And sometimes whenever you have a point, sometimes they'll put the M out in front of it. Like if we wanted to call this point A and this point B, we might put the A or the B in front of the ordered pair. And we may do the same thing with an M here. So we're simply going to take the two x's, -7, which is the x1, and -2, which is the x2. We're going to add them together, divide by 2. Now this gives us a little bit of a fraction there, which is quite alright. If you wanted to write this as -4.5, that's fine as well. And then of course we have the y1 and y2, add them together, divide by 2, and we get a 3. So you could also write the point is -4.5, 3 also. At this given time, I'll take either one of those for credit. So just to get a quick review of midpoint formula again, we'll just work a sample problem. So go ahead and pause the video now and give that a shot. Okay, so I'm going to take my x's, and I'm going to take 6 and 2 and divide those by 2, and of course that's going to make my x coordinate. And then my y's are going to be -2 plus, in this case, a -9. And we're going to divide that by 2, and of course I want to write that as a big ordered pair. So 6 plus 2 is going to give me 8. So 8 over 2, and then -2 plus a -9, which is just basically subtraction, which is -2 minus 9, which is going to give me -11 over 2. And of course, you should always reduce this as much as possible. So our midpoint here is going to be 4, and then a -11 halves. And so you can see here we have our x coordinate and our y coordinate making our midpoint. And if you wanted to write -5.5 for the y coordinate, that would be fine as well. So there's just a quick example and review of the midpoint formula that you should have learned in Algebra 1.